Imagine doing, everything right. Like, you got the grades, you got the job, you played the social game perfectly,
Right.
and your reward is just this overwhelming desire to feel absolutely nothing.
Wow. Yeah, that's heavy.
It really is. It's like you punch the coordinates into the GPS of life, right? You
Yeah.
follow every single turn society tells you to make, and you pull up to an entirely vacant, dusty lot.
Mm.
And you just sit there with the engine idling, realizing the quote-unquote good life everyone promised you, well, it doesn't actually exist here.
And that realization, it triggers a profound psychological crisis. I mean,
Yeah.
you aren't just disappointed in the destination. You suffer this sudden, terrifying mistrust of the map itself.
Yes.
Because if the map led you to a vacant lot, then every decision, every sacrifice you made to get there is suddenly just called into question.
Okay, let's unpack this, because
Yeah.
today we're looking at the terrifying aftermath of that exact realization. We are doing a deep dive into a profoundly raw YouTube video by a creator named Keep Swim.
Right. The video is titled, I Don't Understand What We're Living For.
Yeah. And our mission today isn't just to summarize one person's struggle, but to really explore this deeply human experience of existential emptiness, like what physically and psychologically happens to you when the traditional roadmap for happiness just completely stops making sense.
The source material is incredibly valuable here.
Hmm.
It really gives us a clear window into something that most of us we're trained to relentlessly hide it.
Right, totally.
We're looking at the psychological aftermath of long-term trauma and just the absolute exhaustion of manufacturing meaning. The creator is articulating a state of being that is actually incredibly common, but highly, highly stigmatized.
So let's look at how this creator survived for as long as they did before hitting that vacant lot. Because, they didn't just sit in the emptiness initially.
No, they fought it.
Yeah, they aggressively tried to fix it. They developed this strategy of using milestones as a shield. When that hollow, empty feeling crept up, they would immediately point to something tangible and say, that is the problem.
Right. They would blame it on their weight, or maybe a flaw in their appearance, or the lack of some random academic accolade.
Exactly. Achieving these goals was supposed to be the answer, right? A protective barrier to delay, facing that really vulnerable, empty center. And they also talked about developing this highly specific formula to make as many people love them as possible.
Yeah, which involved a lot of pretending and not being too honest. From a cognitive perspective, the brain strongly prefers a solvable external problem over an unsolvable internal terror.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Right. If your internal void feels bottomless and threatening, your brain will proactively displace that anxiety onto something you can actually control. You convince yourself that the emptiness is conditional.
Like a psychological buffer.
Exactly. You tell yourself, I am empty now, but I will be full once I lose 10 pounds or, get that promotion. It's a survival mechanism designed purely to delay confronting the void.
I mean, to me, this formula they use, this relentless goal chasing, it sounds exactly like wearing a heavy, complex suit of armor.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. It protects you from the outside world, sure. But eventually, you are just completely exhausted by the sheer weight of it. And the worst part is, nobody is actually connecting with the real person inside.
What's fascinating here is the inevitable collapse of that strategy.
Right.
You cannot sustain a performance of that magnitude without hitting absolute biological and psychological failure.
Yeah, you just crash.
You do. And the creator notes that playing this dishonest role, it didn't save them. Actually, it worsened their mental illness and led to severe burnout.
Because you're constantly monitoring everything.
Yeah.
Right. Like you said, the weight of the armor just crushes you.
Exactly. The architecture of their coping mechanism just gave way under the weight of it all. And this collapse, it ultimately forced the creator into therapy.
Where they were finally made to just sit with themselves.
Yes. The therapist asked them to imagine what it would look like to let go of these exhausting beliefs.
Which for the creator sounded like a complete fantasy, right?
Complete.
But that brings us to what happened when their armor was finally removed. Because building on that therapy experience, the conversation really shifts. The veil gets lifted.
It does. And the creator makes this really astute observation here. They note that deep suffering usually pushes people in one of two directions.
Right. They either grow and learn, like that post-traumatic growth idea.
Or they crash and burn completely.
Yeah.
But the creator finds themselves in this strange middle ground.
Yeah, where the veil of life has been lifted, and they just see that the fantasy isn't real. Hobbies, careers, even having kids suddenly feel like, I don't know, just iterations of the same meaningless game.
Just ways to prop yourself up and prove your worth to society.
But wait, I have to push back on this a little bit, because if you recognize that the societal game is just a performance, shouldn't that realization actually be incredibly freeing for you?
How do you mean?
Like, if none of the rules are real, you don't have to stress about breaking them. Why doesn't peeling back the veil lead to this joyful rebellion, you know? Why can't they just enjoy the lack of rules?
This raises an important question, and it's a crucial distinction to make. We assume that realizing nothing matters would be freeing. But to enjoy breaking the rules, you still have to believe the game has some baseline reality to rebel against.
Oh, I see.
The creator compares life to a math equation. Someone can slowly explain how to solve it, how to get the right answers. But at the end of the day, it's just arbitrary letters and numbers that we have simply decided mean something.
Right. We just made up the alphabet being used.
Exactly. Because the creator fundamentally disagrees with the surrounding reality, they're paralyzed. They are unable to fall back under the trance or illusion that life has inherent meaning.
So they can't have a joyful rebellion because they don't even believe in the math itself.
Right. They can't unsee the arbitrary nature of it all.
Which logically moves us into the disillusionment with society and its devastating impact on their interpersonal connections. Because the creator's trauma forced them to deeply perceive relationships as a self-protection mechanism.
Which goes back to that formula they used.
Yeah. And this led to the really harsh realization that unconditional love doesn't actually exist, and humans are naturally selfish.
That's a really tough pill to swallow.
It is. Like, they give this example of being deeply depressed. People will say, oh, that's what friends are for. But the creator believes they secretly mean, I will be your friend until this doesn't stop fast enough. Because being inconvenient, being unwell for too long, it pushes people away.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The tragic irony is that the very survival mechanism the creator used to protect themselves.
Like hyper-analyzing people's motives.
Yes, that hypervigilance actually destroyed their ability to enjoy human connection. By intensely analyzing people to figure out how to be loved, they learned to see all the invisible strings attached to relationships.
Wow. Yeah, they saw the conditional nature of it all.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, trauma often dismantles the comforting illusions most people rely on to function. Most people operate on the naive assumption that their friends will always be there.
We kind of need that illusion to get by, don't we?
We do. But once you see the conditional nature of human bonds, you can't unsee it. It makes it impossible to slip back into that comforting fantasy.
You can't just close your eyes and pretend the strings aren't there. Which brings us into the creator's present day and this really painful irony of having healed somewhat, but still feeling entirely isolated.
Right. They're in their early 20s now. They've gotten their life back together, quote unquote.
But they spent their teenage years feeling like a 30 or 40-year-old.
Carrying that massive psychological burden.
Yeah. So now they can sit in a room full of peers, drinking alcohol, doing normal 20-something stuff, and just feel completely alienated. They're unable to understand how their peers feel or even how they themselves feel in that moment.
They call it a double whammy.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Well, the first layer is that you suffer the curse of the mental issues, right? The trauma itself.
Right.
But the second layer is that the experience itself forever alienates you from others. The gap in lived experience between you and your peers is it's an unbridgeable chasm.
It makes me think about being like the only sober person in an escape room where everyone else genuinely believes the game is real life.
Oh, that's perfect.
Like, you watch your friends panic over clues and laugh when they open a lock. But you know the walls are fake, you see the cameras, but you still have to stand there and pretend to be invested just to fit in.
You're going through the motions, but you are completely divorced from the reality of it. And the creator clarifies, they don't want to be a monk who has risen above ego and society.
Right. They aren't looking to go live on a mountain.
No. They just want to be young and enjoy life. They want to be able to sit in a room with a red Solo cup and actually feel connected.
So what does this all mean? The creator talks about these desperate attempts to feel a quote-unquote spark by forcing their body into pleasant situations, like visiting lakes and picturesque towns on weekends.
Hoping something will wake up inside them.
Exactly. It's like a trauma survivor who is finally safe at home with their family, Externally, everything is perfectly fine, but internally, they are completely empty and unable to fall back in love with life.
We really have to validate the terror of this existential plateau. This isn't about needing a specific solution to a specific daily problem.
It's not like, oh, just get a better morning routine.
No, not at all. It's an all-encompassing existential dread that society forces you to mask. You still have to go to work, pay your bills, and pretend everything is fine while grappling with this massive philosophical void.
It really is a massive void.
Mm.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just briefly recap this journey. We started with the creator hiding behind goals and performed personas, that heavy suit of armor.
Mhm.
Then we looked at the traumatic lifting of the veil in therapy, where they realized the math equation of life is just totally arbitrary.
Right.
And finally, we explored that isolating double whammy of outgrowing your peers and sitting in that fake escape room, just unable to connect.
It's a harrowing landscape, but articulating it is such an immense public service.
It really is. And I want to speak directly to you, the listener, for a second. I want to remind you of the creator's closing sentiment. They are venting because this feeling is deeply terrifying.
Yeah.
But if you have ever felt this way, if you are sitting in that vacant lot staring at a map that makes no sense, you are fundamentally not alone.
Absolutely not alone. And I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over. We talked about how trauma lifts the veil and proves that the math equation of life is just a constructed illusion, right? With
Yes.
arbitrary rules.
Right, the fake alphabet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But could the next step, maybe somewhere beyond this agonizing middle ground, be a radical realization?
Ooh, okay. Where are we going with this?
Well, what if, precisely because the meaning is entirely made up, we are the only ones with the absolute power to assign our own variables,
Oh, wow.
right? If the equation is an illusion, we have the power to write entirely new rules for our own equations.
We hold the chalk. I love that. Maybe that vacant lot isn't a mistake. It's just an empty foundation waiting for you to build what you actually want.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this intense and meaningful deep dive. We invite you to sit with these questions, and we'll catch you next time.